All right, take three. Take three. Take three of trying to explain and help you guys understand the Mixi, the dominant ethnic group on Mixing, as of 160 TU. So, before the apocalypse, which happened around 512 BTU, 512 years before the Tixian unification, which is when Mixing formed, the Mixi were like a kind of nomadic ethnic group living all the way over here, like all the way over here, right in the where the Omar now live, like Sang, Pahala, like that region, Nalato. But after the apocalypse, because they all lived in the steppe, where there wasn't much food or water already, it became even more scarce after the apocalypse, and they had nothing to eat, they had nothing to drink. Most of them died like everyone else, and they were shitting themselves. So all these nomadic Mixi people migrated to Sang over like the next few decades. Well, most of them migrated. The ones that didn't migrate became the Zelans. The Zelans, as you can see on the map, formed the V-Zelan Confederacy. And yeah, surprisingly, they are the closest living relatives of Mixing, of the Mixi people on Mixing. Holy shit, it's so hard to talk. It's so hard to yapper, even though I am the one who made this law. So they migrated to Sang, and they eventually, over another few decades, formed the state of Shokcha. Shokcha did nothing. It was like a relatively civilized state society, but it wasn't impressive. It was nothing much. It didn't like do much. Again. But what do you know what did do much? The Omar Council. The Omar also civilized like Shokcha, but on a much larger scale and earlier. So they were this huge force, this huge collation of states that bowed to a single authority in Yarn. And the authority in Yarn was like, guys, the rice in Shokcha, it's looking pretty nice. Those pastures, nice. I like them pastures. So they invaded, and the Mixi, they shot themselves. Holy shit! What are all these armed warriors doing? So they migrated across what we call the Sanchok Gulf or Bay, or just the Sanchok, and they all migrated over here to Onasasho, Songi. If you even migrated to Shishexi, while the Omar, they took this land and they formed the new periphery state of Sang, which would eventually rise to become one of the most powerful Omar states, ironically. So meanwhile, the Mixi, they were like just scampering around these areas, and only a few stayed here, and they would form the Order of Shaska, the Shaska military order, like a Mixi order that would continue to resist the Omar for centuries longer, like well into the Mixi spring, maybe even into the summer. Meanwhile, the other Mixi weren't doing much for like the next few decades. The first guys to do something, they found this like little village, town even, like inhabited by natives of the region. They killed all the natives and they took the village for themselves, and they called it Sereno. Yeah, that's where Onasasha comes from. So these guys who invaded Sereno, they called it the Duchy of Sereno. For some reason, I don't know why I'm using like, why would I be using Duchy titles for like a state with no other neighbors? Who knows? So it's like the dominant power because it was the only power in the region. There was no one else. Until Aroa was born. Aroa had a god complex. Aroa thought he was the best. Aroa thought the Mixi were the best. Aroa thought he was perfect. Aroa thought he needed to spread perfection around the world. Aroa thought he needed to make his people perfect. We can make a religion out of this. He made Shimiati thought, which inspired a ton of Mixi people, and they started expanding southwards. They eventually were able to reinvent good boats, and they killed all the Shixi natives, and they killed all the natives there. And eventually guys, he formed Sonshen Thek, and he became the first Arkan of Sonshen Thek. Arkan is the leader of religious thought, the leader of Shimiati thought. And it can be certain regions, like it can be the Arcan of Sereno, Arcan of Shishexi, Arcan of all of Shimiati, thought like Shikti Noah is in 160 TU. But the Sonshanthik was where that all started, and Sonshanthik vaguely covered this region, so it was just a southern expansion. It didn't really go up anymore. It didn't go this way anymore. Meanwhile, Sereno was about here. I literally forgot that Shoichari existed. There's an island there, there's another island there, there's another island there. Doing more, okay. So Sereno was there, Sonshanthik was there. They didn't do much, but Sonshanthik gradually became more and more like authoritarian, as authoritarian as it could be for this like level of technology, because of their interpretation of the sixth one became more and more and more authoritarian. So the Mixi suffered, but they also prospered. Like they boomed in population. They like spread all around these areas. I will also put Shaska on this map. Shaska was like here. Meanwhile, Serena wasn't doing much. Like they also converted to Shimiati when one of their first leaders, Checha Akan, was like, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. The Mixi can be pretty strong. So this was the Mixi Spring. All of this, Sonshanthik's reign is what constitutes the Mixi Spring. You got me? You got me? Not much else happens in the Mixi Spring. But you know what happens after the Mixi Spring? The Spring Revolution and the Mixi Summer. Why did the Spring Revolution happen? Well, yeah, because, like I said, Sonshanthik was extremely authoritarian. Like the people felt shit under it. Everyone had to like was forced to ascribe to this hyper evangelical interpretation of the sixth song, probably even more aggressive than Aurora intended it to be. And the first signs of this was the spring fall, when like a big volcano erupted like here, and it pissed off all the people here because there was famine. And like a decade or so later, the actual Spring Revolution happened. Of course, Sonshanthik collapsed. I might make another hyper-realistic map for that. So what was the Mixi Summer like? A lot better. It had a load. It was a merchants and trading republics and shit. You know, it was great. It was great. Like prime among them, Sereno was so strong, and like the kingdom of Sereno probably. It was the dominant land power because most of the other Mixi were based as like thalassocracies. They were based on the mixpen, not on the land. So Sereno was the main land power. Meanwhile, like dominant sea powers, you got like Amic. That's like the only that's the only one I can remember. But yeah, it was like loads of city states. Like imagine like a big HRE without the HRE just yet. Hold on, we're gonna. God, this is great. Yes. Okay, this is Sereno. This is Shishexu. So you got Sereno here, Amic here. These were like the foremost powers, and the Mixpen was all up here. So the Mixi Spring is basically, Mixi Summer was basically a big competition between Sereno and Amic as to who could be more economically dominant. Amic would win, but Sereno would outlast Amic. Because to protect themselves from Sereno, Amic formed the Economics Confederacy during the Mixi Summer, which would encompass most of Shishexi, but it was like famously shit. So when Mixting formed in 0 TU during the tail end of the Mixi Summer, it crushed all these like weak merchant republics and shit, because the states that formed Mixting were big strong states because they had formed out of an identity of trying to outcompete each other, because they used to be rivals, not like trading bearish. I give up. I don't think anyone has lasted this long watching me. We have for about Mixing. If you have, and if you're interested, just ask. I'll do more. It's very hard to rant. I keep on stuttering and shit. You know, it's not good. No, there will not be any skibbity toilet jokes at the end of this video. But if you want to hear about Mixting's expansion, hit that subscribe and like button, you know, share my videos, hit the notification bell. Yeah, boy. Yeah. And we'll talk about mixing. Bye.